Sometimes I feel like I'm just waiting to have a life or to feel like life is my own life is my own. When you're raised to please everyone and assume your pleasure in you makes you selfish, self absorbed, and a terrible person, life kind of feels like a giant waiting room for the next person to come in for you, to please and leave at their pleasure. Keyword there. When I look back at how all these people that I left or left me, they were so ordinary for how extraordinary I made their exit. Moreover, their standards of accepting BS from others was way higher than for me, and that just triggered my low self-esteem. And these are some of the characters you're going to meet on my podcast, like Peter. Contemplated staying with a guy who had anal worms just because they liked sci-fi movies. And somehow I stopped being fun. Lucia wanted a man to pick her so badly she ignored that all of them treated her like a vacation. After 2 weeks, it's time to go back home. And yet, she stopped inviting me to our friend group events. Liam, aka the producer, talks so much ish about every human being, but really just women, that it helped him try to be a star. And he swore that he did not want to be one, but still stole 8 songs from me. Diandra saw women as his sex toys while he tried to figure out his career, and he wasn't good at either. Meanwhile, all my exes shared the same qualities of being so self-sabotaging, they craved a mental health keeper to just get them to their destinations, across emotional ruts like a spiritual taxi cab. Once they arrived to where they were going, they left me, and I wondered how I got there. I didn't even want to go. I was raised to make everyone's comfort the center of my world, so when they left me, it hurt, even if I did not like them and they preferred sci-fi nerds with buttworms over dinner in my company. It made me feel like I failed to please, but now I realize I failed to get pleased. I never think of my own pleasure in anything, which only makes their exit hurt more. My identity is strictly constructed by how I center the world, and quietly resent not being able to center me in my own world. I was simply taught that was immoral, yet now I know better, and that makes me resent me even more. I can sit here and read every person that did not like me for filth, but that would do nothing but oddly reveal that despite their ordinary or decrepit behavior, I'm still the problem. I chose them, and it makes me look bitter, and bitter is never a good look. Moreover, there are people that I let go. Friends that were willing to be closer to me while I faded them out. Lovers that really wanted a deeper, intimate relationship with me. But I was raised in a laugh-cry household, which meant you either had fun or fought. And to avoid either, you isolated. What depth could really be gotten in that dynamic? There were opportunities for better pay and more constancy in my career, but I waited for the boss that loved to take my ideas rather than take me. I admire all of the people that betrayed me in my life, oddly enough, because they were all the center of their world. Whether it was the center of their joy or pain, they were still the centers. And I was the fool decentering me. All right, let's discuss. Let's heal. So I listed some of the characters that you're going to meet. When I write, I try to do an amalgamation of the people that I've met. And obviously I change their names and I change details, but what I wanted to express in Waiting to Have a Life, which is out in podcast form, you could hear it, was I do feel like I have lived on pause. And one of the things that I really admired about my mother was she's a fantastic worker, a fantastic friend, and a really good person. And I put it in an episode that's coming up, good person, good parent. She was so good to everybody except herself and me. And I really resented that ability to be so impatient with us, so angry at us, so judgmental at us, so inventive with us, just always looking for problems, anxious. And I feel like when I analyze my mom and how I reflect her, we're almost like waiting for a friend to call, waiting for a text of how are you, waiting for a boss to pick us to start a project we want. and waiting till somebody leads us to where we want to go, only to find that we are only letting in the people that will use us for where they want to go. And there are a lot of relationships that left me in really bad places. And I walked away like, how did I get here? Like, how did you get where you want? And I'm in the middle of the desert. Like, how are you in Disney and I'm at the desert? And I named, like, Peter. He's in an upcoming episode, and I remember having this really, he's a really weird character. Like, he has his issues. And he wasn't exactly the easiest person to catch up with, but that was my thing. Like, I chase. I don't get chased. I knock on the door, hoping you'll open without realizing you gave me the wrong address for a reason. And it's not even in a stalker sense, because I am lighthearted and I am fun. So that's what makes it bad in a way. I'm asking you to let me entertain you, like it's Broadway. Like, let me entertain you. And they're like, go away. Stop that. Or they're like, yeah, come in. Yeah, sure. Put up an entertainment system. And after you do, I'm leaving you. Or I'm going to treat you so bad, you're going to leave. And I remember we were having lunch finally. And, it's not necessarily, I think I want to do a series called the Nice People series, and like point out the nice people in my life and this relationship with nice that we all have. That is this concept, if I'm harmless, I'm a good person. But yet you're never not harmful, or you're never, like, being fake doesn't mean you're actually kind. And that's the thing about niceness, especially how we define it. It's this fake kindness that eventually pops up. And I've always had the gift of discernment. I'm very good at picking out who's being fake, picking out who's actually going to be a mess. And he was one of those people, but I was also trained by my dad because he was so messy and had so much mania of kind of, don't call a spade a spade. You're a good person when you don't act like that thunderstorm that is clearly above your head and more to come is thunder. Just say it's the sun. That kind of dynamic. And we were meeting up for lunch, and he wrote this novel because he was really dating this guy that he really liked, and they were both very nerdy, and they were going through some, trying to bring their relationship to the next level, when he found out by chance that the man had butt worms. And it was this accident, and then he was like, oh my God, he could have gotten me sick. Like, what? Oh my God, like, we have mutual friends. Everybody, and I'm not like bringing that up to shame him. What I'm trying to say is, so we're finally at lunch, and we spend the whole lunch just kind of formatting this text breakup where he totally had a point, but like, it was so trying to be nice, trying to be not banal. And the thing about dealing with nice people is that they may do nice things for you, but it's only for you to like them. And that's very hard for me to read, because, or actually it's not hard for me to read. It's easy for me to read. It's very hard for me to accept, because I do nice things also for people to like me. But I want to build a relationship. And I think what throws me off about people like Peter is this concept of, I just, like, no depth, just is. I'm just, no actual connections. And at that moment, I realized he did have actual connections, just not with me, because it was a race. And I like when somebody gets snappy with you, very snappy sometimes. And I'm like, this guy has the ability to be very connected and go above and beyond, to be friends with certain people, to date certain people, to be tender and kind to certain people in a genuine way. I won't even get Merry Christmas on a text. And that may sound crazy and that may sound resentful, but and it may even sound small, but then you have the case of Lucia who like starts fading me out of our mutual friend group. I'm friends with all of them, but like, it's like it was all of us hanging out, suddenly we're not all hanging out. And nice person. And then the producer, aka Liam, very nice person, wrote his entire album because he's a horrible songwriter and singer. Never got credited and actually kept like 8 to 10 of my songs because that was the exchange. I'll write for you. You produce for me. What's worse is this is within a 9-month span. I didn't figure out within at least month 3 there's no correspondence. The Angelino was another example that I put, where it was this kind of, oh, he's nice, but no, he isn't nice. They're not nice. And I think we attribute nice to perfect and welcoming. But they will make sure you know you're not welcome. And I don't judge them. I don't judge them for not liking me that much. I don't judge them for not being interested forever in me. What I judge is me not picking up the cues. That if somebody overextends themselves for others, is not including you in their world except maybe to fix something or give advice, they don't really like you. They don't really love you. And anything they did was to be nice because they don't want to look like the bad guy. And they're not. They're really not. And I only mention their stories because it's like people show you the bare minimums they're going to accept. They're going to show you every person that has crossed my boundaries also had someone else that was crossing theirs. Every person that hurt me also had somebody that they allowed to hurt them. And they ignored those people's red flags as much as I ignored theirs. And they're funny flags and they're random flags. And like with the Angelino, he's an upcoming episode. I mean, he was insane. He like just made one cocktail and wanted me. And like nothing. I don't know why men do this food association thing with sex, one gin and tonic, and we're rocking. And he proceeded to tell me about like how he has sex with all these girls and they don't mind paying for their pizza. It was insane. And I found myself, when I told the producer was a mutual friend of his, he was like, but he's a nice guy. And it's this idea that nice means you can't be harmful. Or that you're so harmless. I'm really working on that concept because I want to do that series and I know exactly what I mean. But either way, the red flags were there. And the red flags were not even warning symbols about them because we all make mistakes. We've all had lowered our standards for someone. In the same way someone lowered their standards to accept us, right? Because there's somebody who probably says, well, she was toxic, she was crazy. And then they might not be wrong. They probably are. They 100% are. But in their head, they're right. And I wanted to say that because I can sit here and read every person for filth that did not like me. Because I can. But that does nothing. Because the culpable one is me. I like me now, and I have to like me more, and I have to like me better. But I really judge them on their niceness because it was strategic. They wanted to look good. They wanted to be loved by all. And I could be judged on my niceness too because I want everyone to love me and I want to love everyone. And I think that that's possible. And I have to go through hell and back or be rejected or do a buttworm letter to realize this person does not care about me. They're not tender. They don't hold the same standards of how they should treat me well. And I'm making them super big. I'm calling them friend. I'm calling them best friend. I'm begging to hang out. I'm calling them lover. I'm calling them boyfriend. I'm calling them dad, I'm calling them my uncle, my cousin. I'm calling so many people these titles that actually should be earned because I can't even call myself me yet. And I hate that I do that. And I hate that that has had consequences. I've let go people that were like, hey, I see you love everyone and that you want to love and you want to be loved. I'm in. I think good people exist too, and I think you're one of them. And I'm like, what? Okay, you're a little heavy. You know, somebody needs to like cool it down, back it up. And I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot for how I have settled for less and very boldly complained about it and very stupidly done so. Girl, I'm checking me. I'm checking me. Checking me.